Hey guys, this is 11 a.m. So let's go ahead and get started. My name is Elena Garrett and I'm a realtor with the Dallas Fort Worth area of Texas. And today we're doing a discussion about rent to own and how it works. There are a lot of misconceptions about how rent to own works. So I decided to do a webinar just on that topic. And hopefully I can do this webinar periodically so more and more people can learn the proper approach to rent to own. So my slides will work. Before we get started, wanted to mention that all of my webinars are posted first on meetup.com, where I have my own group called Personalized Finance and Real Estate Advice for DFW families. So if you want to see all of my webinars that are coming up, then go ahead and go to meetup.com. You don't have to join to see the groups. Also, if you're on Facebook, feel free to follow my business profile. It is elena.garrett.kwc, Keller Williams Central, which is the office where I work. In that group, all the events that I post on meetup.com, I post in the group as well. So both meetup.com and this page hypothetically should have the same events, but you will see the events first on Meetup and then here. So if you're on Facebook and you just want an easy way to follow to see what webinars I have coming up, what topics I'm planning to discuss, then go ahead and follow me on Facebook. Also, once we're done with recording of this webinar, I'm going to post the recording on my YouTube channel. If you want to find my channel, look for Ask Elena About Real Estate North Texas. Just kind of search for those keywords in your search bar on YouTube, and lo and behold, you should see my face, and I'm easy to recognize due to my purple hair. Okay, so today's agenda, we're going to look at the concept of buying versus rent to own. We're going to look at what kind of how to identify a program, qualifications, process, financials, and then we're going to look at owning versus buying, buying versus rent to owning. My bad, I need to change that slide. We're going to compare, take a home that we can look at and say, this is the cost to buy, this is the cost to rent to own. How do those compare? And then we'll have Q&A at the end. So very quickly, I have my own website. On my website, I like to post stats and trends because I want all of you to be educated about the real estate market, because real estate market affects such a big portion of your life. Whether you're renting or buying right now or trying to sell, you have a huge amount of money every month going toward your living expenses. Part of it is this trend right here. So knowing where this trend is and how to use it to your advantage, this is what I like to talk about in the stats and trends part of my website. Okay, without further ado, let's jump into the discussion of rent to own. So what is the concept of rent to own? Before we can talk about how it works, let's first look at the very concept of this program. So you have renters on one side, people who, for one reason or another, are staying in somebody else's house and temporarily living in somebody else's house. There are buyers who decided that they're going to commit to a home and have the financial and have the lifestyle that will be tying them to a specific home for many, many years. So the concept of rent to own is to find the median, and sometimes those two groups are very far apart in terms of their credit, in terms of their commitment, cash available, experience, and their willingness to deal with maintenance on a home. So the rent to own program truly is a transition piece that allows people who are currently renting to slowly increase the credit, increase the cash, increase the commitment, and increase the experience in maintaining the house without jumping with both feet off the cliff into the owning the house. So if you feel that that transition is something that you might benefit from, this could be a good concept for you to explore. Okay, so I kind of overlap with some of my other presentations. So if you've seen some of my other presentations, you might recognize the slide. So many people who rent a house never bought a home, but many of us leased or purchased cars before. So it might be easier for you to understand lease to own. using a car. So imagine that you decided that you need a car and you have a choice. You can either lease a car, you can lease to purchase while you lease for a while, and then the monthly payments on your car add up to a down payment, and now you can actually purchase the car with almost no money up front, or you can just go ahead and buy the car altogether. So how do you make the decision? Depends on a number of factors. Number one is pre-qualification approval. It will take a little bit more credit for you to actually qualify for a car of your dreams. If you want a Pontiac, your credit and your debt to income may not allow you yet to qualify for purchase of this car, but might qualify you for a lease to own or for a lease. Commitment. How much do you actually want to stay in this car for several years? You might want to try a car and say, nope, so sorry, I decided that I don't even like Pontiac anymore. So if you're leasing or leasing to own, the change of the choice of vehicle would be much easier. The ongoing maintenance while you're renting or renting to own, you don't really need to think about how to fix a tire or what happens if you have a leak in your engine. So you just turn the car back in, say sorry, needs repairs, and you get the experience of the car without having the obligations on the car. Selections and modifications. If you're renting to own or renting, your selection is probably smaller than if you were to purchase. Like if you wanted to purchase, you could purchase an antique car, right? Given that you have the money. You're not likely to rent to own an antique car. The cost of a purchase upfront will probably be bigger with a purchase because you would need to have a down payment, probably. On a house, it's even bigger because there is a bigger loan, bigger down payment. You have some expenses involving appraisal and surveys and evaluations of the home, and then timing of the purchase. If you need a car right now, but your credit just took a dip because, I don't know, because you just missed a payment on your medical bill, your interest rate might go up significantly because of the temporary dip, but you know that within a little bit of time, the dip is going to straighten out and your credit going to increase. So your monthly payment on that car will be a lot lower if you purchase it in the future and not right now when you go through a little bit of a shakeup in your finances. So you might need an immediate need for a vehicle, but a temporary restriction on either you have an extra debt or there's something happen with your credit and you want to wait a little bit before you commit to an interest rate and your purchase. So this is the concept of renting to own a car, and you can transfer the exact same concept to renting to own a home. Almost no difference except for the size of the home loan is so much more bigger than the size of the loan on a car. Okay, so now let's look at the rent to own process. So it goes in 3 steps. So step number 1 is to apply for a program. There are multiple rent-to-own programs that are available. In case you are not aware of them, the biggest one that I consider the most important one is called DV Homes Rent-to-Own. DV Homes Rent-to-Own. And the second one is called Home Partners of America. Home Partners of America is an older program, but it had a lot more restrictions built in. There are also other smaller programs. So from time to time, I see some little company here in DFW opening a website with like 5 or 6 homes posted there. And they also have their own program, but they tend to come and go. So it's much harder to keep track of them. But the 2 programs called DD Homes and Home Partners of America are very stable. That's been in the market for years. And you can maybe rely on them to look for the guidelines of how the program works. So each program will have its own qualifications. And based on these qualifications, you might qualify for all of the programs, or you might qualify for just 2 of the programs, or just 1 of the programs that are available. So first you need to know what the program qualifications are. Then you need to know what your qualifications are. Let's just say the program qualifications is 580 credit score. What is your credit score? If you don't know that, the answer to that question, you cannot possibly even answer you can possibly even decide which program to use. So you need to understand both your qualifications and the program requirements. Then once you apply with the program, you receive the budget, and we're going to go over this step in a moment. The budget usually limits you to how much money you can spend per month on your housing expenses, and it's kind of like they look at your total income, they look at your expenses like your child payment support, your car payments, your credit card payments, whatever other payment that you're obligated to make. And based on that, they decide what is the maximum that you can spend per month on your housing expenses. And that becomes your budget. Once you have your budget, using that budget, you can go on Zillow and select any home that would fit within your budget. At that time, you will most likely be working with a realtor like me who understands what a home budget and how it translates to an actual home on Zillow. Let's just say that you're approved for $2,800 per month. How much home does it buy you on an open market? Once you select a home, you tell the rent-to-own program that you want to purchase this home using their program. At that time, they will present you with estimates of rent and the estimate of a buyback cost. You will need to probably sign off on that estimate before they proceed any further. Once they allow you, the rent-to-own program will then go and buy the house on your behalf. So you're not the one buying the house. The rent-to-own program, which is a big company, uses their own cash to go and purchase the house that you selected. And now, since that house belongs to the rent-to-own program, they now are able to sign a lease with you and give you a lease for that house, lease for the purchase with an option to purchase. Once you start renting the home, you moved in, and now it's time to build whatever was missing that you didn't have, whatever ingredient that was missing that didn't allow you to buy in the first place, whether it was credit, whether it was cash, whether it was commitment, whether it was experience, whatever ingredient that you're missing, you now have up to 3 years to decide whether or not you're going to commit to this house and have the credit and the cash to purchase the house, or walk away from it. You can walk away from it if you wish. If you decide not to walk away from it, if you decide to purchase, you go to, this is stage 3, you go to your mortgage lender. And if you need a mortgage lender, let me know. I have lenders who work specifically with people who are graduating from rent-to-own programs, so they understand the process. You apply for a mortgage, you get approved for a mortgage. With that pre-qualification letter, you go to the rent-to-own company and you say, I want now to purchase the house back from you. Once you sign the paperwork with the rent-to-own company, the title, the ownership of the house will transfer to you and you will become a homeowner. This is, in a nutshell, the rent-to-own program. And I know it sounds very dry, but it's actually quite exciting. And once you start shopping for a home and visiting different homes, it will become a lot more exciting than it is right now during this webinar. But so with this said, let's break the 3 stages into further detail so you can kind of see and have a little preview of what things are going to look like. Application processes in stage number 1. You identify the rent-to-own programs in your area, and if you're not sure what programs are available, connect with an agent and seek advice. If you want, ask me. I know of rent-to-own programs in the DFW area. I don't know anything else yet about anything other than DFW area. So if you're in Georgia or you're in Florida or you're in Colorado, I may be able to advise you, but most likely you'll need to find an agent who specializes in your area. You check the requirements for the program. So for example, with DV Homes, the minimum requirement is 550 FICO and their application is free. With Home Partners, their minimum requirement is 620 FICO and they have a $75 fee. You look at the pros and cons of each program that you're qualified for and you decide which program to apply with. Make sure that you can drill down on all the fees that will be applicable to you during the application, during the purchase process, and during rent. Because even though the house might be the same, buying it with 2 different programs, different fees can add up to different amounts per month. If you do not qualify for either DV Homes or Home Partners, there are individual investors who, again, the small mom and pop shop that allow to do rent to own, their qualifications might be all over the place. So it will be something that you would need to research with your agent at that time. Again, I'm available. If you have questions, let me know. Once you selected the program that you want to apply with, they usually have an online application, and that online application typically takes 5 to 10 minutes. I personally applied just to see how it works. I applied for a house with DV Homes, and it took me about 7 minutes to fill out an application. I then had to provide documentations of my income. I don't have pay stubs, but typically they ask for pay stubs or bank statements. If your pay stubs and your bank statements are all over the place, so let's just say this week you made $15 and next week you made $700. This month you made $3,000. 3 months ago you were making $29,000 per month. If it's all over the place and it's hard to make a coherent picture of what's going on with your finances, they might ask you for the previous year tax returns just to see how it all added up over the course of years. But typically they ask either for 3 to 6 months of pay stubs or 3 to 6 months of bank statements. Okay, once you submitted all of that information, now they're going to do a soft pull on your credit. Your credit will be pulled and you will need to give them a permission to do a soft pull. Based on your credit score and based on your debts, how many debts you have, based on those two variables, they will assign you a monthly budget. So for example, if you make, very hypothetically, $5,000 per month, but you have child support, you have 2 cars to maintain, and then you're still paying on 16 different credit cards, they're going to take $5,000 minus all of those payments added up, and then whatever is left, they're going to divide it either by half or by 1/3, just depends on your credit score. If on the other hand, you make $5,000, but you only make one little payment on one little credit card, or plus your, very small payment on your car, they're going to take your income minus your recurrent payments and then divide it either by 2 or by 3 based on your credit score. So the same amount of income may qualify you for a different amount of maximum monthly rent. So once you are assigned a maximum monthly rent, that becomes your approved budget. And let's just very hypothetically say that your approved budget is $2,800 per month. Then you go to the realtor with whom you're working with, and then that realtor starts to show you homes that are within your monthly payment budget. So we're moving on to stage 2, which is home shopping. So the monthly budget will restrict the type of homes that you are going to be able to purchase. Let's just say that your monthly budget, you can spend no more than $1,700 a month based on your income and your credit and your debt. In that case, it will probably buy you a house that's within $250,000 to $270,000 price category. If your monthly budget is $10,000 per month or $5,000 per month, you can spend up to $5,000 on your rent because you're making, I don't know, $15,000 per month in your income. It will help you to buy a much bigger home, $500,000 home, $600,000 home. So your budget will depend on your rent. And with that budget, let's just say that you're approved for $350,000. You go on Zillow or you go on Realtor.com or any other search engine, and you just say homes within $350,000, and then you start to scroll through the homes in the area that you're looking for. Any home available for sale from Zillow or Realtor.com or Homes.com, all of those homes can be bought with a rent-to-own program, assuming that the restrictions are met. So let's go into the restrictions. The restrictions usually on age. So for example, most programs, they don't want to buy something that was built in 1915. They want something that was built within the last 30 to 50 years because they're worried about plumbing, they're worried about electrical, they're worried about compliance, building compliance with current standards. So they're going to probably restrict you to buy homes that are maybe 1970s and younger, or 1980s and younger. It depends on the program. Also, they might have restriction on amenities. So let's just say that you want to buy a farm with 10 acres. Rent-to-own program is probably not going to allow you to do that. They want more or less cookie cutter homes that are easy to appraise, either to value, either to resell, if for some reason you pull out of the program and you no longer want the house. Okay, so let's just say that your agent gives you 100 properties to look for. Out of that 100 properties, you scroll through the pictures online, you select 5 or 6, and you go and see them in person to see which one you like the most. Once you choose the house that you like the most, the address of that house, your agent will submit it to the purchasing team at your rent-to-own program. The agent will work with the rent-to-own program to submit all the paperwork and do all the research on the home values, et cetera, et cetera. You don't need to worry about it. What you will get is you will get a proposal. The proposal is going to be like a document. They will say, okay, Mr. Rent-to-own applicant, we can buy you this house. Your lease is going to be X, and you can buy it back from us in 1 to 3 years at the Y and Z amount or Y amount. So your proposed lease is $2,800 and your buyback amount is $10,000, right? So do you agree to that or not? If you sign the proposal, they're going to go ahead and go and negotiate with the seller and buy the house on your behalf using their own company cash. So it will be a cash purchase on your behalf, and the rent-to-own company will now have a contract to purchase the house. While under a contract, rent-to-own company most likely will have to do inspections and negotiations on repairs. Once those are completed, usually the signature are done and the house now become the property of the rent-to-own company, and you can now move into the house. So how do you move into the house? The most important thing is that you need to sign lease. You need to submit a down payment. The down payment amount is going to be stated in your agreement, the one that you signed before you even started to apply for the house. And you need to usually submit 1 month's rent. So we're going to look at the total financials on it in a couple of slides below, and you're going to see what it looks like in terms of dollars and cents. Usually people ask me how long does the process takes. Usually from the moment that you applied to the moment that you're into the house, I would say no less than 2 weeks, almost never less than 2 weeks. Sometimes about 30 days. It depends on how quickly you submit the documents, a report supporting your income, how quickly you respond to the request for clarifications of any issues on your credit report, and how quickly you select the house. So if you're very picky and you want just a certain type of home with just a certain type of flooring, just a certain type of entryway, and just a certain type of neighborhood around you, it might take you longer to find a home that's currently for sale with just those requirements. If you just very simply, I want this 3-bedroom, 2-bath in this area, it might take you 1 day to finish your shopping. Some people, it takes them several weeks to finish shopping. So a lot of the timing depends on you. But once the house is under contract, usually it goes pretty fast after that. So now you're in a house, now you're renting the house, you're paying the rent, and part of that rent hopefully is going toward your savings, toward your down payment. What is the process of actually transitioning from renting to owning the house? So it's called like different companies, different rent-to-own programs call it differently. I'll just call it the buyback process. The buyback process, it works like this. When you first moved into the house, you already knew what the price to buy the house back from the rent-to-own company will be, let's just say 1 year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now. Usually, if they buy the house at price X, then they're not selling it to you at the same price because you may rent it for 2 years. And during these 2 years, the home prices continue to go. So remember, this is one of the reasons why I showed you the graph at the very first slide of this presentation to show you how the home prices are moving. And the reason why I showed it to you is because when you're buying it back, the rent-to-own company looks at the same graph and they say, in 1 year from now, this house will cost approximately this much. And in 2 years from now, the house will cost approximately this much, but it's rarely the same amount as the year before. So your price, buyback price, will be predetermined by your contract, and it's usually higher than what the house was originally for sale for. Based on your plan, let's just say that you're working with a company that takes 25% of your rent and puts it into an escrow account, a special savings account, where your money is set waiting for you to be used for a purchase. So in your escrow, when you first move into the house, the rent-own company opens an account for you. It's called an escrow account. It's almost like a savings account. And in that savings account, they put your initial down payment or your deposit. Some call it deposit, some call it the down payment. And they put any savings that your plan forces you to make. Let's just say that your lease is $2,800, and out of this $2,800, $300 of it per month goes into the savings plan. So all of those $300 are sitting now, adding up in that savings plan, creating a bigger and bigger and bigger pile of money that once you're ready to buy, you can now say to your lender, do you have a down payment? Yes, Mr. Lender, I do. The rent-own company, this is my statement from my escrow account. Over the last 2 years, I accumulated $8,000 or $9,000 or $10,000 in that escrow account, plus I have savings of my own. It makes it much, much easier for you to purchase the house. Give me just 1 second. So the savings account is working for you while you're renting. Once you decide, now this step, it is very critical that you do not do the last portion on your own. You have to work with an agent, real estate agent, and hopefully the same real estate agent who helped you to procure the house in the first place. So why is that important to work with a real estate agent? The real estate agent will be the first one to advise you on where the interest rates are right now. Now, the real estate agent may not know all about the interest rate, the mortgage lender does, but most real estate agents kind of know approximately where the interest rates are at any particular week. But most importantly, the agent will advise you on how did the house appreciate over time. So let's just say very hypothetically that you bought the house a year and a half ago, and your purchase price, you bought it, initial purchase price was $380,000, and you need to pay $405,000 in order to purchase the house back from the rent-to-own program. The real estate agent will tell you your house has appreciated to $401,000, right? You're almost there. Go ahead and start applying for a loan. By the time you're approved for a loan, you probably will hit the appreciation. And now you have a loan amount approved, and you have the house appreciated to your purchase price. At this point, is the perfect time to buy your home. So this is how you select the timing when to apply for a loan. Once you selected the timing, you apply for a loan, you obtain a pre-qualification letter from your lender. With that pre-qualification letter, you go to the rent-to-own company, tell them I'm now ready, let's initiate the purchase process. And you're going to have an appraisal performed to make sure that the house did in fact appraise to that 405 or whatever was final purchase price. And then once it appraises to the proper amount, you work with your mortgage lender to finalize the paperwork, and then you sign the title transfer, and now you become 100% legal owner of that home. So this is the buyback process in a nutshell. What if you had to walk away? We are about 1 minute away from our deadline, so let me go through this real quick. What if you had to walk away from the house for some reason? Either your relationship broke down, you're in the middle of a divorce, you're breaking up with your boyfriend, your job moved you to another part of the DFW, or moving you out of state. Maybe you found out that you're pregnant with, triplets, and you need a much bigger home. So what happens if the initial plan doesn't work? Okay, so, the slide is not completed yet. Okay, so the way that the walking away works, whatever was your down payment or whatever was your initial deposit, usually you lose that. You lose that when you walk away, but there is no additional cost, usually. Depends on the program. So check with your program ahead of time, with each program ahead of time, how the walking away looks like. So on most programs, you just tell them, I'm so sorry, I'm unable to complete the purchase process. I want to dissolve our rent agreement. You can dissolve the rent agreement at any time. You're not locked in the 12 months contract. All you do is you remove your possessions from the house. You tell the rent-own company, here are the keys. So how did the money now works? So remember, you initially made a down payment or a deposit, and then you had some savings, right? So let's just say that your initial deposit was $8,000, and then you accumulated another $3,500 in savings over the time of your rent. The initial down payment is probably going to be lost. You're probably going to walk away from that money, but that money that you accumulated in your savings plan should hypothetically go back to you, and sometimes even with interest. So sometimes you'll need to check with your program how they do it. Like if you deposit money on a monthly basis, some of them accumulate interest for you and some of them do not. So your money might be growing in your savings account or it might be not, but in any event, the savings part of your rent, the one that you paid out of your rent, should go back to you. So now you can take that money and use it for your moving expenses, to purchase another home, to pay off any debt that you currently have. So that money is sitting there in one bulk amount. Okay, so this is how walking away from the house looks like. With that said, this is pretty much it. We are over our time. And I wanted to just give 5 minutes of explanation how it would work based on a specific home. So let's just take this house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Carrollton, and it's currently for sale at $380,000. The taxes are $4,000 plus some change. The area appreciation in the past 3 years, prices in the neighborhood increased about 15%. Okay, so let's look at the financials for both purchasing and renting to own, so you can see the process of rent to own with the buyback prices calculated in, because the buyback prices is probably the most confusing part of the entire thing to most renters. If you wanted to buy this house, and let's imagine that your current credit score is 610 and you need to buy this house. Okay, with a 610 credit score, you would qualify for a first-time homeowner loan, FHA loan, probably with 3.5% down payment. And I'm just looking at today's interest rates, and I am in August of 2022. So if you're watching it at any other date, your interest rates might be different that time, and this your monthly payment might be different that time. But let's just say right now the interest rates are 5.25. If you apply for a fixed 30-year fixed mortgage, your down payment is likely going to be about $13,000. Your closing costs so down payment is just one part of cash that you need to pay. You also have closing costs. So the closing costs for this for a house in Carrollton would probably be close to about $7,500. Just depends on the part of the year when you know how much taxes, prorated taxes you need to pay. So right now, if we bought this house in September of 2022, the total cash to move in would be $20,800 plus dollars. So that would the cash that you needed to have in order for you to even sign the paperwork to purchase the house. If you were to buy a house with that interest rate, your monthly payments currently would be $2,900. And if the house during that time needed some repairs and adjustments and updates, you would be responsible for all of those repairs and updates. Let's imagine that you're actually looking at this house and considering side by side, rent to own or buying. So if your credit score is 610, in that case, your down payment would probably be about $7,600, which is about a half of the down payment on the purchase side. Your total cash to move in would be your down payment plus your first month's rent. So if your first month's rent is $2,800 plus your down payment, your total cash to move in would be about $10,000, which is about a half of the total cash to move in needed to purchase. Now here comes the buyback calculations. So let's just say that this house was $380 right now, to purchase it at $380. You're most likely, at the very least at this moment, and I'm using DV Homes. DV Homes is the program that helps me to calculate. Let's just say that I'm looking at their calculator right now. If we were to buy this house within 18 months back from a rent-to-own program, the purchase price would be approximately $405,000, which is $25,000 more than the initial purchase price, right? If you were able to buy the house back from them within 18 months, your mortgage would be approximately $3,000, which is about $100, $150 more or so than your monthly payment if you bought it right now with a loan. Now, if you had to wait 3 years to buy it, your monthly payments would be almost $330,000 more, and your buyback price would be about $50,000 more than the initial purchase price. See how much difference 18 months versus, so $25,000 increase every 18 months, give or take. But the good thing is that once you move in, if the AC breaks, if the plumbing has a leak, if there's some kind of an issue that needs to be addressed immediately, this is a very predictable and stable monthly expense that you don't need to budget for anything else, just about. In this case, when you're buying, your monthly payment is about the same, right? There's only $100 difference, but you don't know what kind of repairs might happen. Like your AC might go out in the middle of August, and then you're on a hook for, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 worth of air conditioning expenses. Now that is unpredictable with purchase, but very predictable with rent to own. Okay, I'm all out of my time. My name is Elena Garrett, and I'm a realtor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas. Here's my phone number. Here's my email address. I mean, not email address. There's my phone, my website address. I do have Facebook groups. So if you're interested in the following topics: rent to own, seller financing, new construction homes, homes with pools, or homes with acreage, on Facebook, if you go to Facebook groups, just search for those names and you're going to see me owning several groups that you can join. And if you're interested in those type of homes, then I will be able to help you to procure those homes, or at the very least guide you toward the proper next step. Let's connect online or offline. Talk to you soon. My name is Elena Garrett. It was very nice meeting you all.